Hey, so this is just a quick video. I'm not going to make this long. I mean for this video to be like a short on YouTube. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but I just wanted to, remind anybody out there, or even like a reminder to myself. You know, a lot of people are working on things, and sometimes me personally, I get really hard on myself because I feel like I don't really have many results and a lot of progress to show, with, where I'm at and just things that I'm working on and things that I'm doing. And, I'm going to say it like this, when a plant is growing, a lot of the growth at first you can't even see. When that seed is germinating and, taking root, for a long time, for a considerably a relatively amount of time, like you don't see anything happening. There's nothing on the surface, there's nothing happening, but underneath the surface there's a growth happening. There's things are taking place within that seed pod in the soil. I'm not trying to get too preachy, but sometimes just putting things in perspective really help out a whole lot. But when you put a seed in dirt, and during the germination process, it looks like nothing's happening. And even while the seed is, underneath the surface of the dirt, it's growing and sprouting roots. And, while those roots are, expanding underneath the soil, like you don't see anything happening. By the time the seed gets to the point to where it sprouts a little tiny, green leaf on the surface of the soil, a lot actually was taking place. A lot of things were happening. A lot of, in other words, a full process happened just for that seed to sprout that little tiny leaf, at the surface of the soil. And what you don't see, or what you can't see, is all the roots and the connecting roots and the root system that has been growing the entire time. You didn't see the germination process. So, when you just are starting to see this small leaf on the surface of the soil or the dirt, what you can't see is this entire beginning of a deep root system that has expanded beneath the surface of the dirt or the soil. And again, I know I sound kind of preaching and cliche. I'm sorry, but I just feel like sometimes you need to, like, put things into perspective. In other words, you know, I was just saying how I feel really down on myself sometimes about not having, more progress and, I guess results to show, and, things that I'm working on and doing. But, it's a very, very tedious process of, growing when you're starting out doing anything new for the first time. It's going to look like, you're not doing anything, for a time, and I do sometimes compare myself, and then the internet sometimes, you hear all these motivational videos, and you hear about people, talking about, results, and then, I have to remind myself that I really am doing a lot, and especially while working two jobs. So I just want to remind anybody out there, whether you're doing something for fun, you're trying to learn a new skill, you want to start a business, you want to learn a new hobby, you want to learn how to be more self-sustaining, whether it's just you want to learn how to live, more independent from, the society, you want to learn how to build your own house, or, live off grid, anything new, basically, anything new, any kind of new skill, any new endeavor, any just task that really seems to be, really challenging, and, um, what's the word? Um, I can't think of the word. Anything that just really seems hard, basically, and like a lot of work, just remind yourself that, that plant, it's a lot of the things that you're doing that people don't see. you know you are growing, you are getting smarter, you are getting wiser, you are changing your habits, you are learning new skills, even if it's just reading a page out of a how to grow plants every day. um you are evolving, even if other people can't see it. um a lot of businesses starting out, they don't become profitable sometimes 2 to 3 years into their operation. Out of 2 or 3 years after operating, a lot of times, entrepreneurs, they don't really make money for like the first 1 to 2 or 3 years. So it just helps to put things into perspective. But eventually, things will, you know start to, pan out to where, you're going to start, you know, getting profit, or, you're going to basically start to be in a position where all that hard work or studying or effort or whatever effort you're putting into whatever it is going to start to, the universe is going to start to reflect that to you, as the results that people like to, claim. Where's the results at? It's the results are going to come, but there's just this period of time where, you have to just, live that life, or just basically live that reality and do the things that create the results. And so, yeah, I don't know who needed to hear that. Maybe I needed to hear that. Maybe I'm just telling myself, but I feel like there's people out there in the world that, they just feel like they've been trying hard, and, they're making progress, but they just feel like they don't have really a lot to show, like, hey, this is what I've been doing. And then people kind of make you feel bad sometimes because, I know people have a way of just making you feel like unless you have results to show right now, like you just haven't been doing nothing, and you're just kind of just talking about doing it and not really doing anything. So, and that can kind of just make you feel kind of some type of way sometimes, especially if you've been, working hard and being consistent. I know how that feels, to feel like, people just kind of don't take you seriously and, whatever. But honestly, at the end of the day, it's not really about, what people think. It's just about what you know for yourself. So again, I don't need, no one needs to hear this. Maybe it's just me telling myself, but I do think there is someone out there that might need to hear this, that, just keep doing what you're doing. As long as it's what you want to do, keep doing what you're doing. Keep making those small, large, small, tiny, teeny, tiny steps towards whatever you're trying to, manifest. And again, I hate to sound preachy, but, I'm just trying to be sincere, and I am being sincere with this message. So anyway, I'm headed home from work. Just my little quick message, on my way home. I'm about to go to sleep and take it in for the day. Until next time, y'all, take it easy. Later.